Hello and welcome back to the Pacific Perspectives episode. Yes, this is my face. I am here this week. I'm alongside Kyler Mimamoto, as always, and I'm here to tell you, grab some water and drink that water, because that water is good for you. This is the Pacific Perspectives water episode. If you're not drinking water, you're doing it wrong. With that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Xavier so I can drink some water.
I, I think he really likes some water right now. I don't know where that came from, but it's the end of the season. You can feel it in the air. You can feel it in the air. I don't know. You probably can't in Vancouver, but in Edmonton, it just feels like it's a special time. What are you doing, yo? I used to do that. I used to sit in bed and see how far away I could get the water bottle away from my face
I did
before
that
it
in
would.
class in high school.
But I do it like laying down, and I'd go like, and I'd see if I could go like my entire. Anyways, um, yeah, it's the end of the season, and you can feel that the playoffs are coming soon. In Edmonton, it just there's something special. There's something really special. I don't know if it's because there's literally nothing else to do in Edmonton. Well, that's hyperbole, but like still, you get what I mean. It's the most exciting time of the year for everyone there, mostly because there's no other sports teams that matter.
And also,
CFL,
it's Edmonton and there's nothing else to do.
whatever you want to think. All right, but it's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be an interesting time. We'll talk about the Oilers more in depth later, but end of the season, and it feels like a great season overall for the league. Like it was pretty entertaining. There were some nice storylines, but overall for the Canucks and Oilers, it's just weird. I'd say the Canucks obviously they're going to miss the playoffs after they won the division last year, and I don't know how would you sum up this year for the Canucks just in one sentence?
Not as bad as the Rangers.
I'd say identical to the Rangers,
Not
honestly.
identical. The Rangers were better and they became worse. And they took our best forward and we're still worse. So,
That's true. They were better last year and they got significantly worse, but it's kind of the same. It's actually funny because Miller went there, but kind of similar situation where just the team kind of falls apart internally, but they also aren't playing great. Injuries as well, and then they both end up missing by like a solid margin before April is even there. That it's kind of known that they're out. So very again, just a lost year really. I'd say where I think people can see a path. Even me as a guy who, I mean, I don't hate the Canucks, but like obviously I'm not gonna like them right now. Um, I can understand that if they didn't have that stuff going on internally, they're still totally a playoff team. Like they absolutely, and with injuries and everything, Quinn Hughes was kind of on his way to Hart Talks, at least a nomination, and now I don't even see him getting like a fifth place vote. Maybe a few, but really nothing substantial there. And it was going to be his year for the Norse again, and it didn't happen. So it's very unfortunate overall for the Canucks is the word I would use, right? Just from the outside looking in.
yeah. I mean, you have to wonder what could have been from the Canucks if he didn't get injured too, because his stats kind of fell off really fast towards the end
Yeah.
of the year when he was broken. I can't blame him. But there were a lot of games where he looked like he should not be playing
Yeah.
hockey at that point. I feel bad. Hopefully, he takes the offseason to rest and comes back out of the gates flying like he did this past season. Just hopefully, there will be people flying around him this time, and it's not just him doing everything.
I mean, he's
Uh,
demoralized as well when he comes back from that injury and he sees that like the Canucks are just kind of dead in the water, right? Like that's the biggest thing with the internal stuff is it really hurts the motivation to play even if they were injured.
the first time he missed games, they were bad during that time. He came back. They were still kind of bad, but they got better. The second time he missed games, we were good without him. Like, it was going into the Four Nations break.
Yeah.
We were, I think, 3-0-1 without him. So we learned how to play hockey without Quinn Hughes in the lineup. Um, that's largely thanks to Marcus Pedersen being more of a stabilizer on the back end. But I don't know. It was just tough to watch him towards the end of the season because he couldn't do the same things he was doing at the start of the season. He couldn't get away from guys as easy. He wasn't putting up as many points. We were getting outscored with him on the ice. I mean, his plus minus. I know plus minus isn't a great stat, but he does like to look at it, so I'll look at it. It was bad at the end of the season. It's been not good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good last game, or 2 games ago. It was pretty good, but it's not been good.
What do you think of the eliminated from playoffs Canucks? What do you think about their games the last week or so?
It's been funny. I really wanted them to win yesterday against Minnesota because I want Calgary to make it. Um, I especially wanted them to win after Minnesota was celebrating every goal like they won the Stanley Cup. And I get it. I know why they were because that was a big game, but I didn't like that. And then I especially wanted them to win after Yakov Trenin threw a sucker punch at Derek Forbort on the ice. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so they were like actually fighting. They had a fight, and then they went down. And on their way down, Forbort threw an extra couple punches. It wasn't anything big. But then when Forbort was lying on the ice with the refs like holding them back, Trennan threw another punch like down at the ground, hit Forbort like square in the fucking forehead while Forbort couldn't do anything about it. And I mean, Forbort's probably missing the last 2 games of the season. I think he had to be helped off the ice. He was down for a while. Trennan got a game misconduct, and when he was being escorted from the penalty box to the bench, the entire Canucks team is staring at him, and you can see Kiefer Sherwood jawing at him. And Yakov Trenin tries to break away from the ref who's escorting him.
Mm-hmm.
He like does a full 360 to try to get to the Canucks, and I wish he did because I really want to see what would have happened if he got there.
That would have been a good clip. That would have been a really
But
good
Yakov
clip.
Trenin has officially made the Canucks op list alongside
I was
Jason
gonna say.
Dickinson. Next year, Yakov Trenin will have a target on his back.
Watch your back.
Maybe not as big as the Jason Dickinson one because that one might have ended Philip Hedel's career. I guess we'll see. Either way, it is definitely derailing Philip Hedel's career even further, and that was a fucked up hit.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see Jason Dickinson get annihilated next year.
Yeah. It's
The
gonna
rest of
happen.
the games, they've been playing decent. Sherwood has been insane. That third line of Dakota Joshua, Atu Ratu, and Kiefer Sherwood has been insane, both scoring and physicality wise. I had the hits total. I have it beside me. This was after last game. Hits in the past 8, and Sherwood had 46 hits in the span of 8 games. While
Oh
also
my
having,
goodness!
I think he had like 12 points in those 8 games, or 11 points or something. So, yeah, he's come alive. He's who could have seen Kiefer Sherwood having a 40-point season?
That's ridiculous.
And the Canucks sucking
That's ridiculous.
with Kiefer. Like he told me at the beginning of the year, Kiefer Sherwood would score 40 points, Pius Suter would score 24 goals, and Quinn Hughes would play better than he did in his Norris season.
And the Canucks would miss playoffs.
And the Canucks would miss playoffs. I think the insides of me would explode.
I mean, that makes no sense, right? Like, that's just, they're getting literally legacy seasons out of Kiefer Sherwood. Like, this is one of the greatest, like, fourth liner years that I can really remember. Kind of on par with, like, a Patrick Maroon, like, scoring 30 with Connor McDavid. Like, it's just something that's just magic. Like, he's a good player, but he has no business doing this, right? And just the pure hit totals, insane. Like, he suddenly is one of the like most valuable fantasy players if you play even if you play in a points league and not a cats league where hits matter a lot more. It's just ridiculous.
It is quite insane that he managed to break the all-time hits record.
Like, that's stupid.
And still put up 40 points. I looked at the single season hits leaders, and he's obviously first. And it takes you until you have to go quite a little bit down the list to find anybody else with a good point total.
Yeah.
And it's Jeannot I think he had 60 points in that season, which was great, but he's like 150 hits behind Kiefer Sherwood. So it was an insane season from him, but I wouldn't say it's like fully fluky, because if you watch him play, he's got the ability to drive play. He has a really sneaky, insane shot. It was a couple games ago, he was in on like a partial break, but there was a guy defending him, so he just snapped a shot. A simple wrist or flick of the wrist shot he got at
Look at the
89
flick of the
miles per
wrist.
hour. So yeah, his shot's insane. He's one goal away from a 20-goal season. I hope he can do it. But he's made the people around him better. Like DeBrusque and Pedersen, when Sherwood was on his line, they were playing better. He's made Ratu and Dakota Joshua better. Yeah, I'm really glad we signed him for 2 years instead of just one.
Oh yeah.
We got him again at 1.5 million.
I mean, he's probably costing upwards of three at the least if he's like signed from this season onwards. So yeah, that extra year does matter a lot. And I mean, I'd assume they're going to. I can't see them missing next year somehow. Maybe that's something more for Friday's episode or Thursday's episode when we do a little bonus episode there for the end of the season. But
I feel like we can make this a Canucks memorial, and then we can make the Thursday episode our playoff predictions.
yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
that makes sense.
Hmm.
Because I'm not gonna get to talk about the Canucks for the next like fucking 8 episodes. So
Yeah.
this can just be a Canucks episode. Okay. I didn't talk about them last week either, so yeah, okay. Well, moving on from that, what do you think Pius Suter is gonna be making on his contract? 'Cause that's
Ugh.
another guy who had an
So
insane year.
is he? There were rumors of him getting moved. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, he was supposedly going to Dallas.
Yeah, and then they got. I don't know. They filled him up with like Granlund and whatever. That was well before that ever happened. But uh, you'd imagine, especially with the cap going up, he's probably going to go for. Like I think he wants 4.5. He probably gets more like 4. I can't see him seriously going well beyond that unless it's like Chicago gives him like 6, which would be like you're an idiot. But he's good. I actually was just watching uh, the round 1 goals from last year, and it is amazing how many clutch goals Pius Suter scored. He didn't actually score that many goals in that playoffs, but he only scored clutch goals, and in the regular season too.
Yeah, I mean, this season he had one against San Jose where we gave up the game-tying goal with like 30 seconds left, and then with 15 seconds left, Suter sniped it to give us the win. He's getting more than 4. I will tell you that right now. He's getting more than 4 million. He's at a 45-point season with limited ice time. And with his ice time going up, he's been producing at an insane level. And then beyond that, he's also one of the best defensive forwards in the league. He's been the biggest reason why the Canucks penalty kill has turned from bottom 10 in the league to top 5. Him, Bluger, Forbert, but Suter mainly. And he's possibly been our best 5-on-5 player. I mean, with every
Connor
other
Garland.
player on the team, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Garland would go ghost so often. Like there was a month, maybe a month and a half there where Garland wasn't putting up points and you couldn't really notice a lot happening from him at all. But Suter, when he went like a month and a half without scoring a goal, he was still all over the ice. He was very noticeable. There's no way he's getting 4 million.
Now that you
He's getting
mention
more.
it, Detroit is giving him the JT Comfort contract.
I was thinking he's already been on Detroit. I'm assuming he's not going back to Detroit, but they're definitely,
Maybe.
if he hadn't already been there, I had already thought they're totally a team that would give him way too much money.
They're not done with
But,
Steve
I
Yzerman,
mean,
so they're not done
but
with handing out stupid 5x5 contracts to bottom 6 players. So
you look at Andrew Kopp's deal, which is almost 6 million, 5 years, and he had put up like 60 points in the season before he got that deal. But it was also like the cap was lower then,
and it was a
and he wasn't
6-year
as good of a defensive
contract.
player.
Who signs
It's a
that
bad contract.
deal?
Suter's going to get paid. I think Suter's contract at least starts with a 5.
Oh, I. It'll be to a bad team if it's 5.
Probably, maybe. Canucks have room. I don't know. We're a bad team.
But they're not like. Okay, they are a bad team, but like they're not like bad. Like Vancouver is not what I think. I think of like Buffalo. I think of San Jose. I can see him going
You
to
know,
San Jose for 5.
Calgary has a lot of money. Calgary has $35 million to spend in free agency.
Who
That
wants to
could
go to
be
Calgary though?
Well, I mean, if you're getting paid over 5 million, I'd live in Calgary.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Hell,
city.
I'd live in
It's just
Edmonton for 5 million.
well, I don't say that because Calgary is a like bad city or a bad location. I think it's like slightly better than Edmonton, and I think Edmonton's a great city. I also think Calgary's basically an identical city, but just the team situation there, they've been mediocre for a long time, and you still have to spend 2 years in the Saddle Dome. I mean, I don't know.
But they're still on the come up a little bit, and he can get paid. It's not like Pius Suter's quite at the level where he can go to whatever team he pleases.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he gets paid. I think he deserves to get paid. He's been incredible. And he also has a sneaky good shot, too. He's got a good release.
Yeah.
He's a good player. Incredible hockey IQ. Probably the best hockey IQ I've seen on the Canucks, maybe ever in my time watching hockey. He just always knows the exact spots to be in. It's really impressive. I hope we can get him back. I don't think we will. Though we do have $15 million to work with in free agency, and we have a lot of our spots filled up already. I think they seem pretty happy with the defense. I think maybe they make one depth add there. Goaltending, they're not doing anything there. Obviously, we still have Demko, Lankin, and Shilovs. What are you questioning here?
I just keep seeing Demko trade rumors, and just
That
because
could
of his
happen, but
injuries.
what I'm saying is they're not going to be bringing in a goalie in
Oh
free
yeah,
agency. They don't
yeah,
have to worry about. They're not going to be spending money on a goalie, so they don't have to worry about that. They barely have to worry about it on defense. Their only notable RFA is Atu Ratu, who's not going to cost that much. Max Sasson too, but he's probably going to be on a two-way. You got a lot of money to work with, and you got some good players in free agency, and you have a very noticeable gap at 2C that could be filled by a Sam Bennett, a Mikhail Granlund. Who knows?
I can see.
It's
I
hard.
can see Mikhail Granlund.
I think they want to trade for a 2C, and I wouldn't be surprised if Demko is the one on the move for that 2C. Who knows? But I think they want a young 2C. I don't think they'd want to buy 33-year-old Mikhail Granlund. I don't think they'd. I feel like they could go for Sam Bennett, but he's going to be making way more than he's worth.
Mm, yeah, that's an interesting one, and I think Bennett's a prime guy to. He's a prime candidate to have a terrible contract.
What
This
do you think he's getting
offseason.
paid?
Oh, it'll be. He'll almost get 8. He'll almost get
I
8.
was
I'd say
like
7.5, 7.8.
his career high in points is like 50, and he obviously brings the physicality, but
Mm.
$8 million
I
for Sam
I
Bennett.
could be
I'm out.
comfortable giving him 6.5 for like 3 years on a short-term
Yeah,
deal. He could totally be worth like 7 million, but long-term he's not going to hold up. And his scoring ability has never really been there. It's been there in spurts, but it's not a guy you want to sign long-term.
I would like him as a player. I don't want to overpay him. I
No.
don't want to give him that crazy term. I think they might. I think he'd fit well. He would, like losing Miller, we lost some of our grit, and Sam Bennett, like, doubles our grit from what Miller was. So that would be nice. But you look at the team, we have so many players in that 40, 50 point range on offense.
Yeah.
We're going to be like the Seattle Kraken of 2022. Like Garland's a 40, 50 point player. DeBrusque is a 40, 50 point player. Apparently Suter is. Sherwood is. And then Pedersen is apparently a 40, 50 point player. But I do think he'll be better. And you're going to be losing Besser, which sucks. You got to add something bigger than Bennett, I think, scoring wise, because it's been tough to watch the offense.
Yeah. And
I,
the Oilers, Pius Suter, I think it was 23 when he came over, and he was like a half a point per game with the pretty awful Chicago Blackhawks. So he's getting a lot of ice time. It did take him a little bit of time to really get a defensive game, but now he's obviously figured that out. I think that's kind of what the not the best case scenario, but a good scenario for signing overseas guys looks like. And the Oilers, it seems like, are really going that route. They signed David Tomashek. They signed a couple guys from Germany, and I know they're going for Maxim Beryozkin, which is their own prospect in the KHL. I'm really looking forward to them. None of those guys are really like top 6 talent. I don't think they're ever going to be more than like 45 point guys at their absolute peak, and definitely not immediately. Particularly in Beryozkin's case, I think he's more of a bottom 6 player. But those guys are cheap. They come in and they bring kind of just an interesting. You need players like that who are paid like a million, 2 million, and they get 40 points. I think Pius Suter is a guy who the Oilers can look at, and I mean, obviously, I don't think they're going to sign him. They don't really have the money for that to spend that. Pius Suter at this point with the contract he's going to get is probably more like a luxury item. He's a guy you really want, but do you want to give him 5 million? So I think at the end it'll be nice for the Oilers to look at the guys they're signing overseas and say, okay, we can get like 15 goals, 15 assists, 30 points over an 80-game schedule, solid defensive game, and hopefully that turn out like a Pius Suter, just as an example, right? So hopefully.
Yeah. I could especially see a team with a struggling penalty kill go for Suter because of how good he is. And that would include the Red Wings. Maybe
Yeah.
they bring him back. But another team that's been struggling there and they could use probably more center depth is the New York Islanders. So that would be quite interesting to see if they might go for that. I don't know.
Seems like a
Again,
Lamoriello
we have a
player.
lot of money. Pardon?
He does. Pius Suter does seem like a Lou Lamoriello player, to be
Yeah.
honest.
He plays the game the right way.
Yeah.
And he's got those old school values. He's so boring. He's such a it's so crazy.
Is he
Like,
that boring? He doesn't seem that boring to me when I watch him.
I don't know how to describe it. He's like the least marketable good player I've ever encountered in my life. I love him. This is not me hating on him by saying this. But okay, the best way I can phrase it is that he has no aura at all. He just goes there, he plays his game. He does it well.
He's clinical.
He doesn't do anything flashy at any point, and that's good. That's good. I can't imagine buying a Pius Suter jersey though. Like, there's nothing. He plays a great game, but there's nothing to him. It's so weird. There's like no substance.
Yeah,
But he's great.
it's a weird player.
This sounds like I'm hating on him, but he's so good.
It's also a weird player to spend 10 minutes talking about on a podcast.
No, he's great.
But-
He deserves it. He's been.
That's what we do here at Pacific Perspectives.
I mean, he's other than Sherwood, he's been the biggest surprise out of the Canucks season in a positive light. So I think he deserves this talk, and he's a free agent. And I mean, there aren't
Absolutely.
that many great. There aren't that many very good centers in.
No, there
free
isn't.
agent.
There isn't. I think you could actually make the argument that he's probably the second best center beside Sam Bennett.
Well, there is Tavares too, and Granlund.
He's staying. I
You think
think.
he's better than Granlund?
Are you gonna kill me if I say yes? Because I think he
No,
is.
I think it's like
think he is.
closer than one would expect because Suter's defensive game is way better.
Well, Tavares is staying in Toronto. I would absolutely I would jump off of a building if Tavares doesn't stay with Toronto, and I have no stake in that. Like that's happening. I don't know what it'll be for, but it makes no sense for them not to keep him.
Yeah,
Mikhail
he's gonna
Granlund,
stay.
I actually think that's an interesting argument because I feel like Granlund will make less money. I think he's probably going to actually go to a decent team this time around, instead of just being 1C for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the San Jose Sharks for the rest of his career. Like, I don't think he wants to do that anymore. I mean, I'm not inside of his head, but I feel like if I were him, that's been enough of being awful. I'd just sign with the Stars, stay for like 3 million times 3. I don't know. Just give me somewhere I can actually win. But Pius Suter might end up being paid more than him, is my point. I think the market will determine that he's the better player just because of what he does defensively as well.
There is, in fact, a better center besides Bennett in free
Oh.
agency, and I would,
Mitch Marner is not a center.
no, that would be Matt Duchene.
He's a free agent? I thought he was
Yeah.
signed for another. And Brock Nelson is a UFA, right?
Brock Nelson is in fact a UFA.
Okay, yeah. So I was completely off there. He's more like the 5th best center. Sorry, Pius Suter.
Unless Sport Rack is lying to me. Yeah,
I
Matt
have a
Duchene is
feeling though
currently-
that Matt Duchene and Brock Nelson are staying on their teams. Just a funny
there's
feeling.
no way Duchene leaves the South. I think he's made for that, and I definitely see him re-signing in Dallas.
It's just been so good for him in Dallas. It makes no
He's-
sense for him to leave.
But he's very good.
Yeah.
He's actually like absurdly good. Like he's just been getting better. Maybe Dallas does that to people. It did it to Pavelski too.
Yeah. Late career resurgence. It happens.
There's also Nicholas Backstrom.
You never know.
And also
What
Claude
about
Giroux, but Giroux's not going anywhere.
Kuznetsov? He is
Yeah,
there
let's
as well.
go.
He's there as well. Derek Ryan is a free
Yes.
agent. You never know.
Christian Dvorak.
Ooh.
Now, you know who I think is realistically going to end up as the Canucks 2C next year, and it's bad?
Who?
Jack Roslovic. I've been seeing the Jack
That's
Roslovic vision, and I think he's fine. He's not that great, but he's definitely not a 2C at
This is
all.
not good for the Canuck stock. This is not good.
No, but I mean the Canes have survived with that happening on their
He's
in
their
their
2C
center
right
depth.
now?
He is currently their 2C, and other than that, like the Kotkaniemi's had turns at 2C, and
Interesting.
well, that's not great either. But he's a good player, and you can probably survive with him at 2C if you have better wingers. I think we're screwed though. I don't know what we're getting. But I know they've been interested in Roslovic before. I thought they might get him in a Miller trade if that were to happen with the Canes. But then the Canes went and they traded for Mikko Rantanen. And he's good. You know, he's another one of those 40, 50-point players that you can
Yeah.
plug in there into that forward group. I think we're just gonna be stock full of like third
Mid.
lines.
Stock full of
We're gonna
mid.
be a ton of like higher end. We're gonna be every line is a middle six line. Every single line is gonna be a
Welcome
middle
back,
six
Seattle
line.
Kraken.
Yeah, which like I mean at least you got some electricity in there with Sherwood, Joshua, who I think is gonna be a lot better next year too.
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously.
Yeah.
You'd think
Not that
so.
he was bad this year. He's been turning it on a lot too recently. I mean, he's still like he's been scoring at a this season at over a 20-point pace. And for a guy who not only had to come back from cancer and miss training camp, but
Ball
also had
cancer.
an injury in the middle of the season, that's pretty impressive that he was able to
Yeah, I
still
mean, you can't expect
produce
much from
something.
him, right?
The production went down, but it was still, I'm gonna make a Dakota Joshua appreciation post at some point, like probably the day after the season ends.
He deserves it.
So look out for that. Look out for that post.
Podcast exclusive preview. All
Okay.
right.
I'll sum up my Canucks thoughts here,
Okay.
and then we'll move on for the season, except for like the brief time when I'll say something in the Thursday episode. I think we're still in a good spot as a team. I think there are a lot of question marks. I think Pedersen obviously has to be a lot better, but I think if Pedersen plays to his full potential, we could see DeBrusque maybe become a 60-point player if we get another good forward who can really drive play. We could be in a really good spot. Healthy Demko too. I mean, when Demko warmed up this season, he became very good. And our defense has the potential to be like a top 5 defense in the league, which I never thought I'd say about the Canucks, but that is a very good defense. And it seems like Elias Pettersson has won his spot on the roster for next season, which is quite fun. He definitely deserves it. And he's more grit to add to the lineup. So we have a young team, lots of young pieces. Hoglander, hopefully still Hedel, Atu Ratu, Jonathan Lekari-Mackey, even Pettersson still young, Hughes, Elias Pettersson, Victor Mancini, Archers Chilovs.
Victor Mancini.
Hey, I like Victor Mancini. Don't diss. He's shown potential, and he's not going to be above a third pair defenseman, but he hasn't been great, but he has definitely shown potential, and especially offensive potential.
Mm,
And he's a big boy,
big boy.
so I think he can definitely develop and play in that role if he has a good defenseman partner. But anyway, we have a lot of good young pieces. We're a young team, and we have the potential to be very good. With the locker room problems hopefully out of the way, we can just play hockey next season, and I think we can make the playoffs. I have faith that they can be a playoff team once more. But please, dear God, Elias Pettersson, stay healthy.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for the Canucks is DPD is legit. He's already at the worst a solid bottom pairing defenseman, more like a second pairing next year, I'd assume, like a number 4. We'll see what happens with Tom Willander. He's coming over next year, right? He's not playing another year of college.
I believe he would be an Abbotsford Canuck next year. I was hoping I hate that Boston University has made it to the finals because I wanted us to so badly sign him and get him into a game before the
Mm,
season ends, but I
yeah,
don't think that's going to happen now. I don't know when the finals are, but
it's
we're
today, isn't it?
I think it might be, but I don't think he'll be able to come over in 3 days
No,
to play the last game.
especially
I was
after you
hoping,
just lost in the final or whatever. Like if he loses, it's or even if he wins, actually, it's you got to take
now
some
you
time
win,
off.
you win a championship, and then you have to go play Canucks hockey. That's so
That's a
sad.
tough ask.
But yeah, no, he's gonna be in Abbey next year. I'd assume he gets games in Vancouver, and maybe he impresses enough in training camp to win a spot. I mean,
Yeah,
they don't seem to want to do a whole lot on defense. Their main focus is forward, as it should be. And maybe he can be a Quinn Hughes D partner. I mean, it doesn't matter who you put beside Quinn Hughes. We should stop putting Philip Hronik beside Quinn Hughes because Philip Hronik is actually good. We should be putting someone who can get carried by Quinn Hughes there.
true.
That's my piece.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, well, moving
Anyway, yeah,
on
love
to
the
the
young piece. Great.
Oilers. Yeah, moving on to the Oilers here. Um, First of all, I want to talk about that absolutely stupid game against the Blues. Connor Brown has 2 goals out of nowhere. Both of them are just complete random rebound shots into his basket right in front of the net, and he just kind of one times it, half slapper into the net each time. And both of them are amazing, just amazing goals that swing the momentum. Well, obviously the last one literally won the game with 20 seconds left. But in that game, that sequence with the shorthanded goal where Jeff Skinner got, first of all, cross-checked in the face, right off of the face-off, where the ref is on that side, and across the ice, right in front of him, and dropping the puck, looking at him. So that's already stupid. That's a miscall, but like that happens. That happens. I can forgive one miscall. It's annoying, especially if they immediately score after. That kind of doesn't really have a lot to do with it when Skinner recovered in like 15 seconds. But either way, they end up getting the breakaway because McDavid kind of gave it away. Happens sometimes, but I think it was good St. Louis pressure. But then Skinner is directly just curtailed in the jersey. He's being held in the jersey for a good 5 seconds. It wasn't just a slight tug. He was being held the entire time. The referee may as well have just thrown the puck into the net. It was that bad. It was just stupid. Like, that was a genuinely dumb play to not call. Twice. It happened twice. It's not a coincidence. They completely missed it and they chose to ignore it. It happens. And it was going both ways the entire game. When Jordan Binnington jumped Perry after they completely missed a call on him kind of just going right into Binnington's head, which, do you want to protect the goalies, especially when we have the whole CTE research going on? Perry very clearly did not mean, he meant to get in Binnington's grill. I don't think anyone really means to kind of go for a hit, but that's still a minor penalty on Perry there. I would have called him on that. And that would have immediately stopped everything that happened afterwards when Jordan Binnington, I mean, I'm not going to say he would have killed Perry, but he could have done some serious brain damage to Perry by punching in the back of the head, and he immediately crumples down to the ice, and his head almost hits the ice. Like, it's not just infuriating that the game isn't called properly. It's the fact that these guys can literally get hurt, and they take it into their own hands. Against the Ducks in the Anaheim game, which I didn't even talk about, where Gudas literally just got the chicken wing up on Corey Perry right in front of 2 referees, didn't even think about a penalty. Didn't even think about it. And they knew they missed it because they immediately called a completely terrible penalty that was clearly just as compensation for the fact that they missed it. So they know they missed it. And they wouldn't do anything about it. It was obviously a major penalty. Didn't get fined. Didn't get suspended. Whatever.
I think that was awesome.
The entire time, and it's against Corey Perry, so everyone loves it, but the entire time, Louis DeBrusk was actually seething. You could hear him going, he was about to explode. He was like, whenever Louis DeBrusk says, "I'm sorry," that is exactly when you know that he's about to drop some heat. He's about to drop some facts, and he's about to get very mad at the referees. he says, "I'm sorry, but that's a penalty." He says that a lot, but sometimes that'll just happen once and it'll be whatever. I think like 5 blatant, like violent penalties were missed against the Ducks and on the Oilers. And then when they tried to fight, when Ryan Strome wanted to fight Kulak, I think, or Bouchard, they didn't let him. All 3 of those guys wanted to fight and sort it out, and they didn't let him. And the one guy who was actually responsible for all this, Radko Gudas, didn't fight. They caught it on the mic of everyone talking to each other, and Billy DeBrusk even said as much, that they asked Radko Gudas for a fight multiple times, and he turned them down. First of all, Gudas is no longer a very appreciated player of mine because, like, stick up for yourself. He's obviously not as tough as I thought he was because take the fight, man. If you're gonna make a dirty shot, just take the fight. It's really not that hard. If you're going to do something like that, even if it's by accident, I mean, people stick up for themselves and they have fights over clean hits all the time, which kind of pisses me off. But if it's a dirty hit and his teams are repeatedly asking you off the face-off, and props to the Oilers for not like making him fight, because often you'll see that is they'll just go into a scrum and they'll just rip his helmet off and they'll take a penalty, or they'll just immediately get an instigator and they'll try to make him fight and it'll get violent. And again, that's what happens when you don't call a game properly. It can be annoying, but yeah, it was a rough situation for the officials. They just completely lost control of both those games, and someone could have got hurt. So, unfortunately, that's what happens.
You are only compelled to fight when you've done something wrong. And Radko Gudas picked Corey Perry. So, listen, he didn't owe you anything.
Well, but Corey Perry fought after he fights all the time after he makes clean hits, is what I'm saying. So
yeah, well,
I understand it's Perry, and most of the people in the league hate him.
Yeah, but I mean the hits that Corey Perry is making are not on Corey Perry, so he has to answer.
But they are on. I wish they were on Radko Gudas. I just in that game.
Maybe next game. Maybe like the Canucks need revenge on Dickinson. You guys can get Gudas next year.
Maybe. I mean, Gudas is actually a good defenseman, and I kind of wanted him for the Oilers before Anaheim completely overpaid him. But, yeah, we'll see where it goes. It was 2 frustrating games. And I can't even mention, I think the Oilers outshot the Ducks like 50-20. Lucas Dostal completely owns us. It's actually getting crazy. The Ducks have taken 3 of the 4 games against the Oilers this season after what felt like the Oilers swept the series 3 years in a row. Obviously, they were a rebuilding team, and I think this speaks to how they're actually okay now. I think they're a 500 team, and next year we'll see where it happens. I don't know if they're really ready to make the playoffs yet, but it'll be interesting to see, and that's definitely a testament to, where they've come, where 3 years ago they were at the basement, and now they're okay. But against, man, what even game was it? Against the Blues and against the Sharks, Ekholm and Hyman got injured. Now, it seems like Hyman's okay, and he's probably just going to be out until the playoffs, and it's more precautionary than anything. Apparently, Ekholm is genuinely injured. I don't really know if I buy him being out for a substantial amount of time. His body, he just doesn't seem like a guy that's that unsturdy, if that's a word we can use here. I don't fully trust Ryan Rishaug. He's been wrong on a lot of things. He's obviously injured. I mean, Ekholm went out there and kind of stumbled a bit and immediately left. But it was on his own accord. It wasn't like the trainer told him and Ekholm was like mad. It was clear there was a genuine injury. I can see him not being ready for game 1. I can probably see him, if I had to guess, he's ready for round 2 if they make it there. And I think it's being played up a little much of how important he is. In the playoffs, he might be our best defenseman, but like, do people just forget that we traded for Jake Wallman and he's been really good? I mean, thank God for that trade, first of all, because if you don't have Jake Wallman, absolutely, they're finished. Absolutely finished. And I think Ekholm being out does kind of massively hurt their chances of winning a cup, because while I do think he would be back like by like May 1st, for example. I think like round 2 he'd be back late April. He's still injured. He's not going to be 100% when he comes back because it's the playoffs. But like he could play. And you'd have a reduced outcome. I think that will still really hurt their chances. But still, I mean, they can beat the Kings, right? They can beat the Kings.
No?
No? Really?
No!
They can't beat the Kings at all.
Correct.
There's
I see, you get it.
There's not a single chance they beat the Kings. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, No, that's what you're saying.
Okay, no,
You're
he's trolling. He's trolling. Okay, well, hold on. No, let's get into this right now. It's Kings Oilers. It's Kings Oilers.
Bro, we are not talking about prospects today. Holy fuck.
It's Kings Oilers. What does the series look like if it starts right now? Like for you, who's winning that series, and in how many games?
LA in 4.
No, your real prediction.
Okay, I predict that it's gonna go the way I don't want it to. I'm thinking. Okay, I want to be wrong. I so badly want to be wrong, but Oilers in 7.
See, the thing is, I think if it goes to 7, that's not good for the Oilers because the Kings are really good at home. And just because it goes the distance, that means there's more chance to get injured. And I genuinely think they're just plagued right now. I'm going to say it's more likely that it's Oilers in 6. Because I think if they get that series on the ropes at home, there's no possible way for them to lose Game 6 if the series is 3-2. If they're down 3-2, I think they can take it to 7 there. But then I think it's more likely that the Kings will lose. I would call it like a 55% chance the Oilers are going to win, which is probably the lowest percent chance I'd have given them ever throughout this 4 series set. And I just want to mention, they are currently tied. I don't know if you saw this, but NHL PR put out something. The Oilers are currently tied for the most consecutive first-round series against one opponent. Well, the Kings are as well. Kings Oilers since 2022. It was Oilers in 7. 2023, it was Oilers in 6. 2024, it was Oilers in 5. And 2025, it's not going to be Oilers in 4. I can guarantee that. It won't be a sweep. I see a path for them to win in 5, but, I mean, the Kings are going to win one of those games at home in the opening 2 games, and they will get home ice. That's probably the main reason I can see them winning, outside of the Oilers being completely injured at every single facet.
I think the Kings definitely win Game 1. I think they set the tone early. I think that they get Game 1. I can see it happening.
If they're going to win, they need to win that game and win it very, very decisively. It needs to be a 5-0 game.
I'm not really hate watching Edmonton. There was only really the 1 week where they pissed me off this year when when that stuff happened.
Yeah.
I'm only cheering heavy against them because I want to see Kuzmenko win. And I get that. I specifically skipped into the podcast episode to the point where Rory read my note last time, and I heard you call me a cuck for cheering for a player that I like.
Yeah, but it's a division team, and you're purely.
Who gives a fuck?
I understand it's Kuzmenko. Okay. It's a bit different for you, but for anyone else, it would look very bad.
Everyone else loves Kuzmenko too. The Kings and Canucks
not the way you do.
No beef past 2012.
True.
It's been 13 years since anything of note happened between the two teams. Who gives a fuck? Plus, they're playing the Oilers.
Nope.
They are, in fact, playing the Oilers.
But it's kind of it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of the same feeling I got when I saw Flames fans doing a victory lap when the Panthers beat us. And they were like, first of all, Matthew Tkachuk did not want to be on your team. Why are you cheering for that? It just felt very weird. It's a lot different in your scenario because you just genuinely like Kuzmenko, but still, cuck activities, that's how it is.
Oh my God, you just can't have favorite fucking players
No, you're
anymore.
not
That's
allowed.
crazy. I mean, I'm cheering for Dallas for Mikhail Granlund too. I have no reason to like Mikhail Granlund like that. I just kind of do. I'm cheering for them over Colorado and Winnipeg. I will 100% cheer heavy for Edmonton if it comes to Edmonton Vegas. So it's not really about that.
Thank you.
I just like Kuzmenko. I want to see Kuzmenko win, and I like the rest of the Kings too. Like watching them more recently since they got Kuzmenko, they have a really fun team. I don't know if you have seen on their Instagram, but after every home win, they take a group photo together in the locker room, always doing something different. It's really fun. It's fun to see that compared to what the Canucks locker room has been this year, which is a war zone.
Yeah.
That's not a reference to the game. It's a fun team, you know. Like, how can you hate Kopitar? How can you hate Byfield? You know, they got a lot of fun players. They got a lot of likable players.
I will say, I really can't hate the Kings. The only reason I have a little bit of a dislike for them, and I actually really like Byfield now that I think. I love Kopitar. Doughty is like such a cool player. He's such a
I like
lovable
Doughty.
player. Really? I
I
actually
like
love
Doughty more
Doughty.
now, but I didn't like Doughty before.
He's so fun. But I only have that dislike during the playoffs because they're other teams' fans, Kings fans as well, but like they kind of have been humbled at this point. And to some degree, I feel bad for them because like you have to go against the best playoff players of possibly part of all time, and there's no way out of it in this current playoff format. They might win this year, and it's absolutely a cope. It's absolutely a cope, but they're just completely injured. Like that there would be a serious asterisk on this team. I would like to stop bringing it up because it does sound like so much cope, but like it's completely valid, right? Especially if they continue to get hurt.
I really badly wish that this were like both teams fully healthy.
Yeah.
Because that would be incredible hockey. I think that Kings Oilers round one, if both teams are fully healthy, is like miles more interesting than the Battle of Florida. Battle of Ontario
Really?
is going to take the cake, but we'll get into those next episode. So we won't get to we won't talk too much about it. I think Oilers Kings is just like considering, you know, it's their fourth year in a row. These teams know each other so well now that I think that it's can't miss hockey. I think it's going to be can't miss hockey. Most Oilers games, to be fair.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I've talked about it a little bit, but it's the Kings sneakily have not changed their trap style of hockey. They are open to having different transitional elements in their game, but they still run the trap. They still do not get a ton of shots. They still do not get a ton of high danger shots. They're controlling 5v5, like expected goals, Corsi, whatever, all of that at the same pace they were the previous year when we completely demolished them. And the reason we completely demolished them is they were just outchanced on every single aspect of special teams. The Oilers special teams are still significantly better. They're still significantly better. The Kings technically have a better penalty kill.
Yeah, penalty kill.
But the Oilers penalty kill
exposed it last year.
Yeah, well the thing is they're always going to expose every team's penalty kill. This year the power play is a little more predictable and it's been a little frustrating, but again, we haven't seen it very healthy except for like maybe 40-30 games. Fatigue plays a big factor. The fact that the Kings had 2 months more of rest, I think is a big thing here, especially why the Oilers have struggled with injury and stuff like that throughout the regular season. Especially when they first started, they seemed really slow to get starting because they were tired. They were unmotivated from losing Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, I can imagine. It would suck. But I think either way, eventually the Kings have to win, right? Because...
Wait, the Oilers lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals? All right. That must have sucked.
Yeah.
That must have been really, really hard for you.
It did. And the worst part about this is I can see this matchup happening again next year. I mean, I feel like we go into every year and we just are like, yeah, Vegas isn't going to win the division, and then they win the division. We always pick the Kings or the Oilers or the Canucks or whoever else to win the division, and it never happens. Yep, I remember that.
Flames 2022,
yep.
And then Vegas, and then Vancouver, and now Vegas again. It's really funny how Edmonton and LA have both been surpassed by the teams below them and are just so consistently in those
Yeah,
spots.
every
How have
time.
neither of them won in these past 4 years?
It's it's going to continue to happen. I can see it being like a 6 consecutive series thing because I think the Oilers, if they're fully healthy, they are by far the best team in the Pacific Division. I think most people would probably agree with that. Um, like if they were healthy this year, they would have probably gotten another like 10 points up on Vegas. Although Vegas has had a very good year, I must say. They're a very underrated pick for the Cup. They could easily win this year, and they have probably one of the easiest paths to the Cup. And people just kind of discount them because they have a lot of boring. They don't have a ton of insanely exciting players outside of even Eichel, who isn't like 100-point player right now. But eventually, the Kings are going to win. And if it happened this year, I would not be utterly surprised. But at the same time, it would be a little disappointing. I mean, dude, if you're a Kings fan and you win, if the Oilers are playing with the Condors lineup, I don't care. You'd be happy. Like, I'm not gonna discount that. But it's actually, I think last year was probably the only time we saw a fully healthy Kings Oilers team, besides Victor Arvidsson, who came in like game 3 or whatever. But I mean, I don't think he's making much of a difference this year or last year. But eventually, the Kings have to win, just mathematically.
It would be, uh, you know what? I lost what I was gonna say entirely. I had something in my mind and then I lost it
Damn, it's
completely.
gone. It's gone.
Come back to me.
Well, we'll get back to you on that. To be honest, I don't. For the Oilers going into this playoffs, I always get asked, "Are you panicking? Like, can they still win?" And just, oh, you got it?
I got it. It would be crazy if McDavid goes into his age 29 season without a cup. You know, Crosby had one at 22. That was 7 years in age before what McDavid's about to turn. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it? Wouldn't it be so crazy if McDavid were pushing 30 without a fucking Stanley Cup? The most skilled player to ever play hockey. Wouldn't that be crazy? That'd be crazy, right? Wouldn't it be
They
crazy?
would be crazy. It
Like,
just those years from 2018 to I'd say 2020, just those 3 years were so insanely detrimental to his career. They were so bad, so awful. The only thing that you really saw across that time was Darnell Nurse became a solid, like top pair defenseman, and then he got subsequently completely overpaid, and because they didn't sign him long term initially, Leon Draisaitl became one of the best players in the world. But that was just from draft picks. They didn't make a
bro,
single
Draisaitl's pushing 40 and he doesn't have a cup.
pushing 40. They 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 didn't do anything of consequence for like in the good sphere of things, in the good consequence sphere of things, until they brought back Puljujärvi, and then they got swept by the Jets. So it's just even going back to like 2015 when they traded the Barzal pick for a guy who was addicted to coke and was an AHL player, Griffin Reinhart. Just it's very rare that you see that in sports where guys completely robbed it. But that's a whole off-season conversation we can have after the Oilers lose to Vegas in 7. But anyways, I get asked like, how are you not worried about like, oh, Ekholm's out? First of all, like I already said, I don't think he's out that long, and when he does come back, he'll be at least an effective player. It's playoffs. They're gonna play. He's not dead. He's not dying. Like I said, most of the players that they have on IR right now, or are just injured, those guys would play if it was game 1, and that's not like a super serious situation. Um, but what I meant to say here was, if you look at all the blue lines we've had across the current rendition of the McDavid Oilers, like since 2021, when they went to the conference finals, that team's number one defenseman was Evan Bouchard, and it's been Evan Bouchard ever since. You can say you don't like his defensive game. I understand.
I don't like his defensive game.
I understand. Ekholm is obviously better defensively. I don't think anyone would argue that. But I think Bouchard is at worst average defensively. He doesn't do a whole lot for me against top offensive players, but like not a lot of defensemen do. But I think again, we have Jake Wallman, we have Darnell Nurse, we have Brett Kulak. All of those guys are legit, are at the very least legit, solid top four defensemen. And so, I'd say Jake Wallman, Darnell Nurse, and Evan Bouchard are on most teams' bottom pair, right? Or top pair, like they're top pairing defensemen.
No, you got it right.
You you caught me there. But even without Ekholm, I mean, I think with Ekholm, and I'm completely biased here, I think with Ekholm, the Oilers have one of the best blue lines in the league. Without Ekholm, that blue line is still in the top half, almost, of playoff teams. So, especially if other teams are also going to be injured, right? Like, if you have Evan Bouchard, Darnell Nurse, and Jake Wallman as your top three defensemen, that goes up there with most teams, besides, like, maybe New Jersey and Colorado. I think that
Carolina
is on par with what Vegas has on their blue line, with a washed Pietrangelo, a very good Shea Theodore, and, like, Zach Whitecloud, those guys, Braden McNabb. That's just kind of... Who?
Noah Hannafin.
Noah Hannafin? Oh, yeah, he sucks. That's the biggest thing with Vegas, is he's not good. That's why I think they're very beatable. If he was, like, 3 years ago, Noah Hannafin, I'd probably be picking them for the Cup. But either way, I don't think they're very much in trouble, especially with Troy Stetcher genuinely being useful out of nowhere. He's actually been really good. And Ty Eberson just got his first goal against the Sharks. That was huge. He actually looks like he's playing solid defensively, although maybe it was just the Sharks. We'll see how it goes against the Jets tonight. And a wild card, Cam Dineen, who, for my money, I actually really don't like him. He had one really good game that everyone loved. I did not like his game. He just makes a lot of stupid moves. But again, we'll see against the Jets. It could go either way. I think if they get another injury on this blue line to Jake Wallman, Nurse, or Bouchard, it's over. But before that happens, I think they're fine. I think their blue line is still top 10 in the league without Ekholm. I think it's one of their biggest strengths even without him. The biggest concern I have is if McDavid gets injured again. I saw him kind of go down awkwardly against San Jose, and I was like, God, please no. Please no. Please no. And he was fine. He was fine. But that's happened so many times this year where he just goes down a little awkwardly, and he's not getting targeted. It happens. It just doesn't feel like our year. Not because we're bad, but just because stuff just keeps happening. And sometimes it happens to a team. So I think I am completely releasing. I think after we beat the Kings, I have no expectation. I have absolutely no expectations. My expectation this year for the playoffs is beat the Kings. The easier you beat the Kings, the better. But at the same time, I'm being a realist here. If they go down early against the Kings, that's objectively a good thing. Outside of the fact that they're probably not going to win the Cup when they're this injured. They need the rest because they played hockey 2 months after they stopped playing last year. And if they do that again and they don't win the Cup, like, you're looking at some serious long-term injuries happening there where you need to rest guys for like the first month of the season just to give them that rest. So if they're going to go down at all, I would be perfectly fine to see it happen early. It would feel really bad, but objectively, I think it helps the team out. They need to rest.
Okay, we've been going forever. Do you have questions?
Let's move over to the mailbag right now, and we'll be back with you shortly. So our first question here...
And we're back.
We are back. Our first question here, we're only going to do two because we've been going for like an hour and 10 minutes. Which
Jesus.
pending are... Yeah, I know. We talked about the Canucks and Oilers for a long time. I could have gone for another hour. First question from DeMello72. Which pending RFA do you see getting offer sheeted this summer?
Oh, I'm going first?
Yeah, you go first.
I could see a Gabe Velarde getting offer sheeted. I want to say Velarde because I already know who you're saying, and I don't want to see that. Though it would be really funny to me if Evan Bouchard got offer sheeted by St. Louis.
See, the thing is, Bouchard getting offer sheeted would be like a $10 million decision in order for the Oilers to not even at that point, they could like you'd have to go into the 11 million range, and at that point, you're giving up three firsts or two firsts, a second and a third, and $11 million long term for Evan Bouchard. I don't think any team is doing that. I think he's worth 10 million, maybe not 11. I just don't see any team having the outlook of doing that, especially if you have that much money, being willing to give up those types of picks. So I can see people thinking about it, especially after what happened with. I think everyone's going to be looking at every single potential offer sheet now in the summer and thinking about what they can do. But people have to remember these people, the player has to agree to it, and the team has to be put in a hard position. So don't really see that happening. Don't really see it.
I would like for the Vancouver Canucks to offer sheet Marco Rossi. I'm running out of battery.
Rossi wouldn't make sense because the Wild have a just assload of cap space, sadly.
Fuck.
But I do like Velarde. I can actually see that happening because the Jets need to make some
Velarde
really
would
tough
also,
decisions.
Velarde would be pretty much perfect as our solution for 2C.
Oh yeah,
Kind of exactly what they wanted to go for.
it would put the Jets in a really weird situation. For me, a guy that meets that criteria of deserves a lot of money, his team is not in a great situation to sign him, and he's kind of in a situation where he might be willing to leave. Noah Dobson, and I think that's a guy who probably is the number one candidate. Not only have they actually talked about trading him, he's kind of expressed that he's a bit frustrated with not getting a contract, and it doesn't seem like they're willing to go to the like 8 million, 8.5 that he probably should get, and he probably will get from another team. It might be the Blues. It might be the Blues. I mean, giving up it at like 8.5, I think the compensation is only like a first, a second, and a third, which is absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. They might just end up trading him before he gets offer sheeted, but when you get into that offer sheet window, it becomes a lot harder to trade him because like could also immediately just offer sheet him instead of going for the trade there. So we'll see what happens there, of course. But I think Dobson is absolutely. It's gonna. People will at least tender the offer sheets. I don't know if he's going to sign them because NHL players are stuck up like that and they don't leave their teams. Next question.
Stuck up?
Yeah, well, they like NHL players don't leave the teams they were drafted to.
It's stuck up to be loyal?
Compared to like NBA players, yeah.
So the NBA players aren't stuck
No,
up.
not stuck up, but like like compared to NBA players, right? Like NBA players just go willy-nilly and they only stay on the team for 2 years. So, but either way, next question from just _0311017. I like your name, buddy. Who is more likely to win the cup over the next 15 years? Habs or Senators?
Habs, I like their prospect pool more. I like their young guys. I like Nick Suzuki, and I think they would have more free agency pull.
That's not a bad. That's a compelling argument. The free agency pull. For me, they're actually really even. I think the Senators are obviously the much better team right now, even though they're only a few points ahead. I think they're on paper much better. The Habs still aren't really there as a perennial likely playoff team. I don't even know if they're going to make it next year, but this year they are. Ivan Demidov is at least for me a point per game player over his career. Hopefully, Caulfield and Suzuki are already at that point. Of course, Suzuki has the elite defensive game to go with that. And they've now got an elite defenseman in Lane Hudson. They likely have a couple good goalies on the way, and they already have a great goalie in Dobish and Montembeault. So it feels like they're set up better, but at the same time, I think Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Thomas Chabot, I just feel like that's probably better than what the Habs have at the top of their lineup. But again, with the free agent poll, like I feel like more people are going to be willing to go to Montreal. So you're not wrong there. It's just so even for me. It's so even for me. At the end of the day, I think it will come down to whose superstars consistently do good in the playoffs. And we really I mean, we haven't had a chance to see what Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle and Jake Sanderson can do in the playoffs. Obviously, I think most people have a creeping suspicion that Brady Tkachuk will be a great playoff player, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I think Tim Stützle would be the best forward between that bunch. Is my only argument for the Senators.
Okay, my closing notes. I'm pissed off that the Battle of Ontario is happening first round because I would love to go see Sens playoffs in person, and there's no way in hell I'm paying for that.
You know, $500 for a 300 level tickets. You don't want to do
Or
that.
nosebleed, yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds great. I have no money. I have nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Well, what do you think? Habs or Senators over the next 15 years?
I said Habs already.
You did?
I did. That was the first thing that happened. I said the Habs. I like their prospect pool more. I really like Nick Suzuki.
Oh, you're right.
I think they have more free agency pool, so I'm gonna say the Habs.
No, I just completely.
We gotta end this episode, dog.
We do. Actually, do you think it's like?
Oh my god!
One more thing for the Habs and Sens fans. Do you think they can actually win a cup though, over the next 15 years?
Yes.
I don't think they will.
Any team can win a cup over the next 15
Will
years.
they?
I think the Habs definitely do.
Definitely.
I don't love it for the Sens.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this mailbag. That's going to do it for this edition of the Pacific Perspectives podcast. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Win this year. I hope the Sens win the Stanley Cup this year. I'm cheering for the Sens to win the Stanley Cup this year. I just want to get that out there. In case they win it, and I say that I don't think they're winning in the next 15 years, I do want to say the Sens are at least my favorite team in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs.
I'd agree with that. Well, I think I prefer the Habs right now. But the thing is, they actually suck, so they're not going to win it. But the Senators are at least decent enough where I could see them going on a magical run. But either way, that'll do it for this edition of the Pacific Perspectives podcast. We will see you all next time.